Schwetzingen Palace is a great place to take a trip back in time. Straight into the world of Prince-Elector Charles Theodor and his wife. The Prince-Elector made the palace a well-known temple of the Muses. The palace rooms still show how the residents' daily needs were catered for in every way. Schwetzingen also has a glorious park, but that wasn't always the case, as the palace expert knows.
It was originally a medieval moated castle, then it became a hunting lodge and a summer residence of the Palatine Prince-Electors. It reached its high point in the second half of the 18th century under Prince-Elector Charles Theodor.
He decreed the park could not be changed, so even now it's planted and cared for just as it was more than 200 years ago. The palace garden reflected the tastes of its time, follies shaped like temple ruins, or mosques, in keeping with the fashion for everything Oriental. And once you've visited Schwetzingen, then why not head for Bad Wimpfen? It's a good half-hour's drive away along the Castle Road. Its old town center would be an ideal backdrop for any film set in the Middle Ages. And it's the perfect destination for people who love the romance of castles. As the head of the Castle Road Association says, these people have a strong sense of tradition.
They have a feeling for the past, for their own roots. And you can see that along the Castle Road, which reflects Europe's cultural history in the most beautiful way possible.
The former imperial palace is a unique monument. During a guided tour, you'll find out that building work is said to have begun in the mid-12th century. The gate was the entrance to the palace complex. Emperor Frederick II lived mainly in Italy, but visited the castle on several occasions.
He took his pets with him on his trips. He owned many exotic animals, among them lions, panthers, cheetahs with equally exotic keepers, and even a huge giraffe which he brought with him across the Alps all the way to Wimpfen.
Once Wimpfen had the largest fortified castle built by the Hohenstaufens in Germany. Later, much of it was destroyed.
We're now on the north side of our castle, and these arcades are a really unique surviving example of Romanesque architecture in Germany.
The remains of the complex have merged with the old town and now form the castle district of Bad Wimpfen. Right in the center is the Blue Tower. Even though this landmark is undergoing restoration, its guard still lives there. For an entrance fee of €1.50, she takes us all the way to the top. She's continuing an old tradition because the Blue Tower has been lived in for centuries. Blanca Knodel has lived and worked here for 20 years, even though her duties aren't the same as those of her predecessors. Only the view of the Neckar River has remained the same.
Nowadays, it's basically a tourist service. There are no more enemies, the bell rings automatically, and if I see something burning, I simply call the fire brigade.
We continue along the Castle Road to Heldburg. Just under 3 hours' drive from Bad Wimpfen, a 400-meter hill looms into view, topped by Heldburg Fortress. It too has a turbulent history. Once a medieval castle, it was converted into a palace in the 16th century. And as part of East Germany, under communist rule, it was an orphanage. But at the beginning, the castle had traditional functions. They included notifying neighboring castles if danger approached by lighting fires in baskets like this as beacons. The fact that Heldburg Fortress is now a tourist attraction is thanks to the hard work of a foundation that restored it little by little. In the 1980s, a fire destroyed much of the work, but the fascination with life in the Middle Ages remains unbroken.
It's interesting for us to see how people lived, how long they took to prepare their meals, or how they communicated over distances, which is almost unimaginable for us these days. We make phone calls as a matter of course. It's really fascinating.
And a journey back to the times of castles and palaces doesn't have to end in Heldburg.